Okay, here is a picture of the actuator. I pulled it out of the van, and this is how it looks now. You can see it much better. You can see it's got a lot of dirt on it too. That's probably the diaphragm that's all tore up on the inside of it. But this is how it's mounted, kind of like that. And you got these grooves here, and they slide onto these two bars you'll see in there. There's these two mounting, I guess, tabs that stick out from the vent. Now the vent is on this side over here, and this is where your vent housing is on this side, and this is mounted to it. And so what you have to do, and I'm holding the phone with one hand, but you take your screwdriver and you got to stick it between the housing in this actuator, the vent housing and actuator, and just kind of pry this off. And you pry it back like that off the tabs. So push it off those two tabs that go here and here, those two mounts that mount in here and here. And just kind of pry it back, and that's how it slides off. Then this right here is going to be connected to the actual door. And it's a white lever that I showed you earlier. It's connected to the door. Once you slide this off, once you slide the actuator off, then you can kind of work this thing right here off the hook. Remove this is where the vacuum lines attach, here and here. That's your push and pull vacuum lines attached there. Just pull them off. They come off as a unit. They're on, two of them are stuck on. They're made together. Just pull the whole assembly off, and then you can pull this thing out of the car. And you can see where dirt's coming out of here. Not dirt, but probably part of the vacuum, probably part of the diaphragms inside here that make the actuator work. And you can also see, I'm going to attach my handy dandy little handheld vacuum pump. See if we can make this work. You can see it. So here, let's see, pull this out. Okay, if I, on that connector, when I work my vacuum pump, see it pulls it in? Well, kind of. Let's see. Yeah, that diaphragm's really tore up, but see, it's kind of pulling it in. Okay, I'm back with this mode actuator for the door in the ventilation system for the heating on the 2000 Chevrolet Astro. And I've ordered another one from Rock Auto, and this is the bad one, and this is the good one. I'm just comparing them here and show you what it's doing. These actually have a spring in them, and this spring is bad. This is the bad one, and you can see how that just spongy goes up and down. The new one is hard. It's hard to push in. You can push it, but it takes force. You can tell there's a spring acting on it. Also, if I've got my vacuum line connected up to my vacuum hand pump, and I can pump it, and as I pump it, it will pulls it down, and it holds it down with the vacuum pressure. And if I release it, it pops the lever back up again. So, and it's here pretty tight. So if that's just spongy, that one's bad. This one's good. I'm going to go ahead and install this back in the vehicle, and I'll show you how it looks. Okay. There's your hook, and here's your two mounting studs, right there and there, that this thing's got to slide onto. There's the hook that the metal piece goes on, and the two studs you got to slide that actuator back into. Okay, hook goes on that, and this both goes on this way. Slides onto the two mounting studs like that. Slides in, those studs slide in there. That goes on the hook. And let's see if I can get it on here. It looks like for some reason there's my actuator, and I just connected it to these hoses, connected the vacuum lines back up. They're keyed, so they'll only go on one way. They're keyed at the top. This has a big squared off end right here. It's squared off, so you can only put it on one way. You can't get them backwards. However, still not getting good vacuum because when I put it in the fluid hose, it's sucking it in, but it's not pulling it in like it should. It's just slight. Back out. It's not going in floor mode now. It's going back, but not like it should be. Through tracking pretty much all the way back. Okay, so I must have a leak somewhere else. I'm going to check that out and let you know. Okay, the reason I was not getting pressure, good or vacuum on my vacuum line, is because this line here, right here, that goes to this device, this actuator here, this is the water valve. This is my water control valve here. And line, that water control valve, the diaphragm in it is shot. So I actually had to replace it here. Replace that water control valve. Yeah, also, if you ever want to replace these heater hoses, this is another water control valve. This is the front water control valve here. That's the front water control valve. And this one back there that I was showing you earlier, that's the rear water control valve. So I've got two heaters on this deal. It's a custom van. And if you ever want to take these valves out, I would recommend when you take these clips off here, to get these clips off, it's hard to do them with pliers. I just basically squeeze them and move them back. But pliers it's really hard to get to them, especially when you got to get the clips back here. They're way in the back of your rear water control valve. It's really hard to get to those hose clamps. And what I would recommend doing is buy yourself a hose clamp tool like this. It's on a cable. It's got an end to go over the hose that goes over the clamp. You just squeeze it like that. It closes up, squeezes the clamp. 10 times easier to get out. Makes your job a lot easier. You can get almost any hose in this vehicle with that thing. Makes it a lot easier to just move those clamps, reposition them, take the hose off. Here's a close-up shot. This is the bad water control valve I had to take off. This is what it looks like. This is the rear heater water control valve, inlet and outlet. Just two connectors, inlet and outlet, with a valve on it, and it is vacuum controlled. This one is bad, diaphragm is tore up, and when I started checking around for other leaks, when I put my vacuum pump across this inlet, well, across the vacuum line that went here to this inlet from inside the vehicle, there was no vacuum at all, and actually you could hear the coolant gurgling, or it was bubbling. You could actually hear it gurgling, and that shouldn't be happening. And there was no vacuum at all, so this whole diaphragm is gone. This only cost about $12-15 at all. Okay, I got the new actuator put back in the location. Mode door actuator. You can actually see it work. Right now it's on, the vent is on face vent on the front console panel. So if I go from face vent to floor, you see it moving. Now see, it's going all the way up. Now it's just on floor. And the heat is going out the floor vent. Back to face. Now it's only coming out the face vent. That's the face vent. Floor vent all the way up. And the actuator's working fine. All my vents on face for defrost. And you can even see that's kind of halfway. That is face and floor. So that's face and floor. Face. Floor only. That's defrost, and that's another actuator sticking on. Defrost works, and defrost only works also. Back to floor again. So that actuator's working, and that's where the problem was. Okay. That's it. Thank you.